The title of our today's topic is Human Mobility in a Changing World, Rethinking Migration, Reintegration and Inclusion. We have two people, very special people, to present to you today. We have a speaker and a reflector. The speaker is going to be Alexander Oturu. He's a migration management professional and risk analyst serving as the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of Nigeria's National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internal Displaced Persons. He has contributed to major national migration policies and reintegration frameworks aligned with the Global Compact for Migration. A fellow of Toronto Metropolitan University Migration and Integration Program, he leads multi-stakeholder reintegration efforts across the Southwest region, and Alex is also a global voice on migration, speaking at high-level platforms such as the Rabbit Process and the National Migration Dialogue. He runs Migration Nuggets, a digital platform simplifying migration issues and promoting safe, informed mobility. As a reflector today, also very special, it is Joseph Oraegbunam. He is a humanitarian, a migration management specialist with 9 years of experience supporting refugees, IDPs, migrants, and victims of trafficking. He currently serves as the Senior Project Assistant with IOM, focusing on migrant protection and human trafficking interventions. Joseph has strong experience in case management supervision, protection mainstreaming, resettlement, and livelihood assessments. His work spans emerge response, project design, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. He is driven by a deep commitment to safeguard vulnerable populations in advancing their rights and well-being. Welcome, Joseph and Alexander. Alexander, may I ask you to start your presentation?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me here on Good Morning BSN. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. I was almost wondering if I was the one that was being introduced, because it was very, very generous introduction. Thank you so much. So very quickly, today I'll be talking about human mobility in a changing world, rethinking migration, reintegration, and inclusion. As we know, migration is it's a global concept, and it is in the front burner of conversations right now in the world globally. I think studies have actually shown that human mobility is at its highest levels right now in history. Issues around displacement leading to refugee situations. People are constantly on the move, seeking better socioeconomics. So we have a lot of labor migrants. And of course, climate-induced mobility is on the increase. We see that there are new drivers of mobility. We talk about climate change, we talk about digital economies, inequality in economics, conflict, demographic change, trends. But something that is often less spoken about is the aspiration for dignified life, or just, human aspirations. Migration is not always and shouldn't always be looked at from a negative perspective. People tend to move for a variety of reasons. And one of the, often less appreciated reasons is just the aspirations, just, human aspirations for something better. I remember recently I was just talking to somebody who was telling me that he actually feels like he has completed Nigeria and he wants a different challenge. So such people in this new wave of migration, they are migrating not because they are necessarily fleeing persecution or fleeing insecurity, but just because they want a new experience, they want to try something new. So you find in the recent trend of human mobility, people that are highly skilled migrants that are seeking a fresh experience to express their skills. And it's also important to note that movement now, migration now is multi-directional. So it's not just from the global south, as they call it, to the global north. But there's a lot of movement even within the global south. For example, in Africa, in fact, as high as 80% of migration in Africa actually takes place within the continent alone. So people are not necessarily emptying themselves into Europe or into the Americas. There are more African migrants moving within the continent. When we even talk about West Africa, West Central Africa, it is as high as 88%. So there are new dimensions to global mobility, even within Africa, and across the world. Africa currently has one of the youngest populations in the world, and we've been told that by 2030, um, most of the world will be Africans. So Africa would have the highest population, in the world by 2030. And a lot of this will be young people. So there's going to be a lot of movement. People are going to be moving from one place to the other. So it is important. It's an important conversation to delve into with regards to migration. Nigeria, for example, is a major transit, origin, and destination country for migration. We know that there is a lot of internal displacement from conflict, flooding, erosion, of course, the insurgency, insecurity, and all of that. But not to underrate that. But when you also look at, as you begin to interrogate further on migration within Nigeria, you find out that a lot of the movement, again, is about aspirations. People wanting a fresh start, wanting a new experience, wanting better pay for their jobs. So you have highly skilled people, and that's why we talk about the Jackpot syndrome now. Young people who are highly skilled, who are educated, who are looking to migrate. And Nigeria, is actually responding. Is responding to this new wave. Is responding to the new dynamics of migration in Nigeria. My agency, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, is one of those government agencies that's in the forefront of reimagining and trying to understand again and see how we can respond positively to the migration dynamics. Nigeria has one of the largest diaspora that is actually contributing as high as 19 billion US dollars to the economy every year. As of 2024, it was about 19 billion, and we know that this year it's even going higher. Nigerian diaspora remits, I think we're the third highest African country with the highest remittances from diaspora. So migration is important. Migration is important to national development, and that's why in 2015 Nigeria adopted a national migration policy. But just between last year and this year, we worked on reviewing that policy to respond to the emerging realities. To respond to issues like the diaspora remittances, to respond to issues like the Global Compact on Migration, to respond to issues around reintegrating migrants. So when people jackpot, as it were, and they come back, what do they have? What are the opportunities that are there for them? Is there a safety net? So these are some of the things that the National Migration Policy 2025, which has been reviewed, seeks to address, seeks to respond to. So Nigeria is really thinking about this. In fact, it will interest you to know that in recent times, under the leadership of my commission, Nigeria also assumed the chairmanship of the Euro-African Dialogue on Migration and Development. That's the Rabat process, where European and African countries sit down to discuss issues on migration and come up with policies, come up with strategies, and better ways of relating with each other with regards to migration issues. And from 2025 to 2026, Nigeria holds the chairmanship. And what we've been able to do in that time is to be able to push for better representation, to push for better treatment for our migrants, and also to push the narrative for regular pathways for migration. Because one of the drivers for me, especially for irregular migration, is because of the fact that there are not enough opportunities. There are not enough regular pathways. We do not promote the regular pathways for migration for average Nigerians that want to travel. We don't hear enough about those opportunities that European or American partner countries have that can help people to migrate in a better way. And oftentimes what we hear more about are those negative stereotypes, are those that go through the desert, those that go through irregular means or overstay their visa. But if people realize that there are opportunities, there are actual, regular pathways and opportunities for them, we'll find that there will be more people accessing these pathways. In fact, even as it is now, Nigeria in 2024 had the highest number of recipients of the Erasmus, that's the EU scholarships. And so that means that, even where these opportunities exist, we have people that are exploring them and utilizing them. So that is one of the ways to actually stem the tide of irregular migration. And something that is important to note is that irregular migration in Africa only accounts for about 20% of the movement in Africa. So as high as 80% again of the movement in Africa or migration to Europe and America is actually regular. We have people that are following regular pathways. So irregular migration only accounts for about 20%. And so we have to find a way to harness the benefits of migration. We have to find a way to harness these opportunities and stop seeing migration as a challenge, stop seeing migration as a problem to be solved, but an opportunity to be explored. It can be a development tool. We have countries like the Philippines that are maximizing the benefits of migration. They are leveraging their migrants, their migrant workers in the US, in Europe. They're able to leverage the resources to come across with a win-win situation for the migrant, for the country of origin, the Philippines, and also for the destination countries that house these migrants. And that is what Nigeria is also looking to do with this new national migration policy. And so, like I've said, we have to find ways to promote regular pathways, mobility, labor mobility schemes, student mobility schemes, and also look at issues around circular migration. Migration doesn't have to be about relocating or resettling, as it were. There is a concept of circular migration where people are able to go and then come back. We see that explored a lot, between South America and Canada, South America and the US, where you have people who migrate to Canada from Mexico to work in farms, and they're there for about 6 to 8 months. And then towards the end of the year, they go back to their countries of origin and they stay until the new year. So we have to explore these opportunities. It's one of the beautiful ways of leveraging migration, and it's beneficial for both parties. It's beneficial for both countries because you're helping to ensure that in the destination country the economy is moving, and then you go back to your country of origin to now remit as well. So it's a win-win for all parties. Another important thing that needs to be reimagined again, like I mentioned, is also the issue of misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation when it comes to migration narratives. Some of them have already tried to, to bust. Some of the myths have tried to bust about the fact that there is more movement within the continent than there is going outside. So, and then of course that more of the movement is regular and not irregular or illegal, as people like to say. But then also, one of the ways to leverage migration is also to let people see what the opportunities are. Stop focusing on the negative stereotypes and letting them see that all that glitters not gold. Because sometimes when you look at migrants who migrate through irregular means, probably through the deserts and all that, they tend to when they get those that are fortunate enough to get to the destination countries, they paint a different narrative that, oh, it wasn't all that bad. Yes, they went through the desert, but they are finally here. There needs to be a balance. We need to find a way to balance the information and let people know that going through irregular pathways is not the best way to go. And then also when it comes to those who are being reintegrated, like I mentioned, Nigeria is adopting new strategies. We want to have ownership of the reintegration process. There is a lot of reintegration that goes on. When you hear from my colleague from IOM, you would hear about a lot of the wonderful work that the International Organization for Migration, the GIZs, ICMPDs, and all of that. There's a lot of wonderful work that international partners are doing, but this can only go so far. For reintegration to be sustainable, it has to be community-led, it has to be government-led, it has to be led by the countries of origin. We have to take ownership of the process, not just the government, but the civil society, the private sector. Everybody has to work together, because if persons are returned, especially those who have gone irregularly and come back without any source of livelihood, if they are not, sustainably reintegrated, it can be a danger even for the country of origin. It can be a danger for Nigeria. Imagine a large number of people coming back, about 20,000, and then when they come back, there are no opportunities, no jobs. Before you know it, people might tend to, go down the avenue of crime. So then this talks about inclusion. So are we stigmatizing them because they failed in their migration journey? Are we stigmatizing them because they failed in their migration experience? We shouldn't do that. We need to create a safety net, and it's all of us. It has to be led by the country of origin, by government, by civil society, by the private sector, by the academia. Everybody has to put hands together to ensure that when migrants are returned, they are sustainably reintegrated. Just again to look towards the future, climate-induced migration is rising, and it's important that Nigeria prepares. It's important that everybody is aware of these situations. We hear about floodings, we hear about the desertification in the north that is leading to the reduction of the Lake Chad and all of that. So these are issues that are, ongoing, and they are rising, and they lead to a lot of our people having to move. A lot of Nigerians are in Niger, are in Cameroon because of these issues, are in Chad because of these issues. And it's also important to know that the youth will continue to be a major driver of migration, of mobility, and technology will have a role to play. Reintegration, again, must be linked to economics, transportation. We need to look for new opportunities, new ways to reintegrate. I think I shared some weeks back at BSN on some of the opportunities that migrants have, and I was happy that some of your graduates who were part of that program reached out, to see how they can actually employ or work with returnees, which is something that is very important. Of course, migration diplomacy has to be multilateral. It has to lead to cooperation with countries of origin and destination countries as well. And finally, in a changing world, mobility is not a challenge to be feared. Migration shouldn't be feared, but it's a reality to be understood, to be managed and leveraged. Rethinking migration, reintegration, and inclusion gives us the tools to turn movement into an opportunity and ensure that no one is left behind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Alex. Great presentation, new perspective on this issue, I would say. Let's quickly go over to Joseph. Joseph, may I ask you to reflect upon this presentation? Joseph, there you go.
Hello, can you hear me? Confirm if you can hear me.
We can hear you, we can't see you yet.
Okay. Good morning, BSN. Thank you for having me. Alex, thank you for a wonderful and quite detailed presentation. I'll be reflecting on these key topics or key discussions Alex have raised. Migration, and human mobility, how it affects the society. It's no longer news, like Alex have portrayed, that labor mobility, climate change, disaster has also become the driving forces that leads to migration in recent trade. Human aspiration, not forgetting that, as Alex has pointed out, has also played a key role by ensuring that people who seek to explore or also conquer more frontiers achieve more. I find to see in recent time moving from a destination where there seems to be doing well, like it has also been mentioned, just for the earning or the need to explore or also conquer more ground, he or she needs to also move forward further to a newer opportunity or newer ground. As young populations, as Africa, as youths, We also understand that the African population is also predominantly youth. And I strongly agree with Alex that in the next future, you will find out that all over the globe, you will find Africans all over. And this is as a result of what? This is as a result of the yearning of the younger population, either trying to conquer more grounds or feeling that they need to move from one location to another to achieve personal growth, support their family, or also personal improvement in life. So these are the things that had or in recent time has continuously also lead to mobility within the shores of Africa. Now, I just want to also mention and also agree with Alex on a point that why we say migration is a right, but if you should migrate, it should be done properly. That people within even time memorial before now, even during the Stone Age, you find people living the villages or the bushes where they were to move to a more conducive environment because probably they feel that place is no longer conducive. Maybe they have conquered or probably the environments they need to change. Or when there are growths or where people are beginning to develop, you find out that some persons will feel that they want to move. In this context, in this very context, we as young persons, we as leaders of tomorrow, people who are the change makers who will be driving the tomorrow economy, we need to understand how important migration it is. In Nigeria currently, over 196 billion Nigeria as a country has received as remittance from migration alone. You find out that migrants have contributed immensely to development, societal growth, and also what help in the transfer of knowledge from one place to another. So I strongly agree that for we as people, for we as group, we should continuously encourage migration and continuously encourage safe, orderly, and also provide information on available resources, available migration, or available opportunity out there for those who want to explore those grounds and also contribute to the development of the nation or the country or economy they find in themselves.
Thank you so much, Joseph. So good reflection. And now it's time for our participants to ask their questions. You can do so by typing them in the chat room or by typing them in the Q&A room. And then, of course, it's up to Alexander or Joseph to answer the questions being asked. The first question has come in from Leoma. And she's asking, why would someone doing very well in his place quit her job and migrate to another place of uncertainties? What are the catalysts to this type of migration? Do you understand the question? Can you give an answer to this one? Quite difficult question.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Joseph, go ahead.
No, I will prefer Alex, please, that I can support.
Okay. Yes, I mean, it's again, a major driver, a major catalyst is human aspiration. There is the mindset, there's a thought process that the grass is greener on the other side. So people, and then not just because the grass is allegedly greener on the other side, it still boils down to people's aspirations. So you have people just like the friend I mentioned who was doing very well, but then he felt that he was doing so well and he had completed Nigeria. He had achieved everything he felt he could achieve in Nigeria. So he just wanted a new experience. And I mean, life is all about uncertainties. There's nothing that is certain, in this life. Even leaving your home is uncertain in itself. But then not to also negate the fact that then there's also a lot of misinformation. So sometimes, like I mentioned, people who have migrated irregularly might paint, or who are not even doing so well in the diaspora, might paint a picture of, everything is wonderful, stand in front of cars, in front of houses, go to the mall and take pictures. And so people just think that, oh, everything is wonderful on the other side. And so I can sell everything and go and start afresh and it's all easy. And it's not always as easy as it seems. So it's a bit of both. So it's a mixture of both. Those who are well informed, who understand that, okay, there will be a price to pay, but I need to take this step to have a new experience, to start a new life. And then there are some who are just driven by, the wonderful pictures that are being painted online about living in a different part of the world. So that's, it's a bit of both.
Thank you. The questions are pouring in, so I'm going over to the next question directly. It's a question from Omolara. She's telling us, thank you, Alex, for your beautiful presentation. What is Nigeria's plans to make mobility issues easy and enduring and not stigmatized, as it were?
Okay, thank you, Omolara. I think Nigeria, of course, is doing a lot. I talked about the national migration policies that is expected to address, a lot of these mobility issues. I know that the Nigerian Immigration Service is doing a lot of work in terms of access to documentation. The wait time for getting a new passport has reduced, and so it's a lot easier to get your international passports there. Even now at the airports, you have some gates that are, that you don't even get in contact with any human being. You just use your passport and you can pass through. So I think these are some of the things that are being done. In fact, Nigeria, of course, is also a member of ECOWAS and also a signatory to the ECOWAS Free Movement Protocol. So for most of West Africa, you are able to move from one country to the other. And we are actually doing a lot of work to retell our story, retell our narrative about Nigerians, trying to, paint a better picture about what Nigeria is. I mentioned about the fact that we are chairing the Rabat process, which is a Euro-African dialogue on migration. And what we've used our chairmanship to do is really to push that narrative of Africans' contributions. There are a lot of Africans that are doing well in Europe, and we're not all scammers, we're not all there to, in fact, most Africans, most Nigerians in Europe are not leeching on the system. We go there and we work hard, we take up jobs that people don't want to take up, and we actually contribute to the economy. So this is the narrative that we're trying to push to stop the issue of stigmatization. It's not a one-day job. It's something that is consistent. It's something that has to do with a lot of, there's a lot of investment, a lot of work that has to go in, even as much as, the rehabilitation, as it were, of the airport in Lagos. There was a lot of noise online saying, oh, why are they spending this much money to, to rehabilitate the airports, that it's even more than if you're building a new airport. But those are the kind of investments that actually help to paint a better picture, of your country, because that is the first port of call for visitors who come in. And so when you have a befitting airport, Nigerian airport, especially airport in Lagos, is supposed to be a hub for West African flights. Most flights coming into West Africa should pass through Lagos, and that should be what we should aspire to. So some of these things, it might be difficult now, but then we have to accept them as part of what we're trying to do to respond.
Great. Good.
Let me also add it.
Yeah.
Let me also add to that. When it comes to human mobility, I want to commend NCFRMI for one of the good work they are doing. Alex mentioned something very key. The 2015 National Migration Policy is still under review. Now, there is something I want to also put in place, that this review process ongoing, the NCFRMI are now contextualizing modern trends of migration into the review of this National Migration Policy to have all the information and also help to address human mobility issue in general. There is lack of information, there is misinformation about available mobility pathways and opportunity. These are also being captured and being addressed in the new set of documents that will be coming up. So just want to also add that institutionally, government is working around the clock to develop the institutional policies, and government are also collaborating with international organizations to ensure that the legal frameworks and policy documents are being put in place to support these mobility issues. Thank you, Anogo.
Thank you. Then we had a question from George Woods, who is also the presenter of next week, Good Morning BSN. And he's telling you excellent talk. Thank you so much. Have you given thought to what kind of resources, channels, or approaches to migration you would put in place? Living in the UK, migration is both a gift and a challenge to host countries.
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Have you given thought to what kind of resources, channels, approach to migration you would put in place?
What kind of resources, what kind of channels, what kind of approaches to migration you would put in place? Yeah, I mean, of course, we understand the fact that migration is, I don't want to use hydra-headed because that sounds negative, but yes, it has different expressions and it's viewed differently in different parts of the world. Some of the resources that we leverage, we leverage our partners like partnerships, with organizations like the IOM, International Organization for Migration. But we're also working, even in the UK, we work very closely with UK Home Office, really around issues of migration. We are currently even having bilateral discussions with the UK on issues around migration, around return and reintegration of migrants. So these are conversations. I think that is one of the strongest channels or resources that you leverage when it comes to issues of migration, is entering into bilateral migration agreements, bilateral labor agreements with countries of destination, those countries where your nationals tend to migrate to. So you have to find ways to enter into agreement with them. Just like I gave the example of the Philippines in my presentation, they have a lot of strong bilateral agreements with various countries where their nationals are. And that is something that Nigeria is exploring very strongly. We are also in conversations with EU. We're also in conversations with specific countries as well. We had a very strong bilateral migration agreement with Switzerland, which has actually led to quite a number of Nigerians who have had to return to be successfully reintegrated back into the society. And of course, there's a lot of give and take on both sides. I think those are the channels and resources that we leverage.
Thank you. So there's a lot of questions coming in, but we only have time for one or two more. So make your answer brief if possible. The question that came in first, and I'm doing them in the order that they came in, is from David, and he's asking, how do we explore circular migration to prevent loss of heritage and culture by the country of origin?
Yes, so I mean that's those are some of the things that we need to look at. How can we leverage circular migration? Joseph mentioned also something that is very important: the issue of knowledge and skill transfer. Because as much as people are migrating, how can we ensure that we're leveraging their experiences? The new skills that they're acquiring as countries of origin, and that is part of what Nigeria is doing through the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, is to develop programs that will create an opportunity for Nigerians in the diaspora to be able to give back, to be able to still maintain a connection with the country of origin. And we have a lot of programs in place currently. There was also the bond, the diaspora bonds that they have, which they are selling, which Nigerians NIDCOM is selling. But aside from that, there are opportunities in telemedicine, there are opportunities especially in medicine, where we can have, telemedicine opportunities for people to work, to be in the diaspora and still connect and work with hospitals here, connect with the next generation of doctors and nurses and all of that in the countries of origin in Nigeria. So these are some of the ways that we can look at it, aside from people being, having to come back. if they can't come back physically, they come back virtually. Can we see, explore ways for them to share their skills, for them to share their knowledge, and still impact on their countries of origin? These are, some of the opportunities that we're looking at, and these are some of the things that are captured in the recent review of the National Migration Policy, how we can leverage these opportunities.
Thank you. And then the last one, because we don't have any time for any more questions, but the last question is from Joop. And he's asking, do you have an idea what the impact of the use of AI in companies will be on your vision? Is that a threat or chance?
Yes, I mean, AI, artificial intelligence it's always an opportunity. We shouldn't really look at it as a threat. Even in migration management now, there are people who are exploring the use of AI, especially to have a more balanced approach. For example, in granting asylum to potential refugees, AI is already being used, to be able to sieve through, because it is anticipated that AI will not have human bias, which human beings tend to have when they see people from certain areas and all of that. So, in a way, if used properly, AI can be, an opportunity. AI can be leveraged, to better manage migration. It can be leveraged even to support, migrants in their countries of destination. It can actually be an opportunity, and I think a lot of Nigerians now are catching on to AI, are beginning to use the tools, are beginning to learn how to use AI in various areas of endeavor. And I think that it's something that can be an opportunity, because the moment you start to view something as a threat, then you will undermine any of the opportunities that exist in that concept. So I think AI is actually something that that can be an opportunity, can be something that we can leverage. And it is also what has been explored as well in the reviewed National Migration Policy.
Thank you. Well, sorry to say, but that's it for today. We have gone through our time. It's 10:08, so that's about the time we should quit. Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much, Alex, for your excellent presentations and answers on the questions. There's still a lot of questions in the chat room and in the Q&A room. Perhaps you can answer a couple of them when we are waiting for the people to leave this morning's Good Morning BSN. Next week, we again have a great topic and again have a good speaker and a great reflector. The topic of next week's Good Morning BSN is creating cultures of purpose. How, what, when, and who. And the presentation is being done by Dr. George Woods, who is the CEO of the Culture Architects. And the reflector is going to be Pierre-Yves Robert. He's the co-founder and managing partner of the Culture Architects. So hope to see you all back next week, same time, same place. Thank you for now, and hope to meet you again. Thank you.